Sounds of the World is presented by the Music Educators National Conference to bring the music of different cultures to the classroom. This series is based on a public radio program entitled Music in a New World.
Welcome to Music in a New World, a series of half-hour programs which explore the music of ethnic communities across America. Your host for these programs is ethnomusicologist Carl Signell.
Guess where the National Dance Troupe of Laos resettled in the United States? Des Moines, Iowa.
My name is Sanong Unbong. I am the leader of the Lao Natasin, or the Lao Dance Troupe in Iowa. First of all, I would like to introduce the instrument of Pinpat Lao Dum, or classical orchestra. Ranat Ek is the leader of the instrument of the music. Ranat is wooden xylophone. Ranatum is a xylophone a little soft with the bamboo. Hmong is a little kong and have a sound like a mong mong. Kong Vong look like a Kong circle. And Sab cymbal. And sing is very strong. You can hear ching ching. And then gong tapon or Indian drum.
What are you supposed to listen for in this kind of music? About 100 years ago, the French composer Claude Debussy discovered one of the secrets, and that is to listen to the tone colors, the sounds of the instruments. When I hear this kind of Southeast Asian orchestra, I enjoy listening to the sounds of bronze gongs and wooden xylophones and hand-struck drums, these softly struck percussion sounds. Besides the royal court music of the orchestra, the Lao dance troupe in Iowa also has a very fine folk musician. He plays the ken, or bamboo mouth organ, and the Lao people consider that their national instrument. It's kind of like the harmonica because it has free reeds in it, and you blow in and out, and you can get some very nice rhythmic effects.
This is the sound the can is playing by Pao Kalpian, the can maker and can repairer in our troupe. He play folk music from the countryside. When you hear this sound that represent all the Lao people, this is our own instrument. This have a special name, Lom Pad Pai. The wind blows the leaf of the tree, the bamboo tree.
The bamboo mouth organ of Laos, or ken, played by Pao Kyopin. Molam is the national singing style of Laos. It's also what you call a person who sings it. Tongmon Vilavong is the molam for the dance troupe. And here, in his recitation in the first section, he introduces himself. Then he describes a walk through the forest in his homeland far away. He talks about the trees and the aroma of the flowers and the singing of the birds.
จังแม่นอนางพอเข้าแล้วเฮามาเดินดงเขาคำไปดงสุริวงศ์ขี่ม้าพาน้องดุงเดินดุงดันดันดุงเดินดงไผหนาป่าข้าแก้มขับผู้สักผู้หน้ามันห้องตั้งไผในเถื่อนหมู่เดือนสองแกงแมงไม่ไหลเงาเว้าพื้นไม้ขินควายซ่อนแหนงเว้าพื้นไม้ขินควายซ่อนแหนงไม่กะแย่งมันป่างางอแงนนี่มาแค้นสาระนอลำดูพ่อหนัวสิงนาผู้สักผู้หน้าโดดเต้นคนเล่นงางอนจับกินซ่อนหมู่คณะแหนงเลี้ยงเบิ่งคนมันจับงาเงามันเบาเขาเกี่ยวตัวขันคู่เหียคู่ไม่ดูแต่อายหายคู่บ่มีนกกังเกผู้นี้โคมาหึงจับอยู่เทิงให้ดกนกกระแซวมันทวงเจาะกินดวงนอนในนกใส่เจาะกินดวงนอนในนกใส่ขันเจาะต้นไม้เสียงห้องขึ้นดงเสียงปงปงนกใส่เจาะนอนมาสะอ่อนพุงมีละมุสนีมันห้องหาคู่สนีคู่หาคู่ห้องหาคู่สนีคู่หาคู่อยู่เทิงคู่เรียบเจยเลยคำนำแรงแสงแดดตองอ่อนซ้ำแสงเลี้ยงลงหลับทันขึ้นเศร้าห้องเสียงดังกองตั้งคืนกี่คืนขันเสือตื่นสางฝังยันและนี้สัตว์มูนีหาเที่ยวกลางคืนต่างเว้นนอนสันหั่งเชียงโคนกเขาคู่มันก็พาใส่สู่บินสมปาดูเสียงมันคู่ใส่โกหูหน่อยเมียงฟังเสียงปังแม่นมังกับฟันมันทะยานต้นผาป่าดงสมใหม่เลไลห้องผู้เสียงน้องนี่นั่น เลไลห้องผู้เสียงน้องนี่นั่นมีจักรจันทร์ท่วงแมงหลวงเสียงฟังสำเนียงว่าเสียงหลิงเลไลฟังสำเนียงเสียงหลิงเลไลเสียงมันห้องจับใจแสนอะไรอาวรณ์ดอนดงดันไฟวันเดียวเดียวไฟคนเดียวลาลาดอกหาเพื่อนบ่มีคำเอ้ยมือไอซีทวงหมูกาเว้าเสียงมันวอนว่าเว้ย
Moram in the first section he tells about the Laotian people who left the country. We compare with the Surivong history. He tells about misery there.
สุขสำราญอยู่อเมริกายังบ่ถอดท้องนาอยู่ใต้ฟ้าเมืองลาว
The second part we call Lam Long Kong along of the river Mekong.
How do you know when the second part starts?
When you change the tune of the can, they won't stop for a while in the tune and the sound you will know.บัดนี้ข้าขอวอนไหวจัดตุลาทั้งสี่ทอดละนี้นักนำนางน้อยเมฆลาอัลว่าคุณพระพุทธขอให้มาช่วยคำอัลว่าคุณพระธรรมขอให้มาอยู่ซอยคุณพระสงฆ์ขอให้มาซอยอยู่กันยามใดดอกหางเมืองยามเมื่อพัดภาคบ้านไก่ด้านข้ามีคันแม่นไก่เฮือนซานกินเดิมดาเข้าไปเมืองลาวที่เคยสร้างที่เคยทางที่เคยตนคนละทุกใจมันดันดินสิกินได้บ่ยิ้มเต็มสิกินได้บ่ยิ้มเต็มวันไหนความเข้มคือเกลือก่อนฝังในใจขาดทองเฮ็ดให้เล่าพี่น้องได้นอนค้างอยู่ต่างแดนแสนที่อุกอังเอาภาคพ่อแม่หนีมาบุตราทั้งบุตรีได้ห่างไล่ไก่บ้านไก่เฮือนซ่านที่เคยสนหนีมาดนนับมือต่างพวกที่ยังอยู่ข้างสิแปลงสร้างมาซ้ำใดคิดเห็นเด้คิดเห็นผัวดอกไม้การกองดอกมาลีเคยบูชาพระเจดีย์ธาตุหลวงถูกแรงเศร้าเคยบูชาองค์พระเจ้าในอารามวัดไงเฮ็ดเทียนไตพร้อมดอกไม้บูชาไว้ให้สองใสแม่นไผเด้สิไปไต่เทียนใสให้หึงบูชากรมแม่นกราบไหว้คือข้าวเทแต่ก่อนหลังวังโอ้ยนั่นละนานุ่นนวลนานานุ่นนวลนาละเวียงจันเอ้ยโอ้ยนาละเวียงโอ้ยจันเลยโอ้ละแม่นนางเอ้ยโอ้ละว่าเล่าเอ้ยขอให้เล่าพี่น้องที่ภาคเทนดอกบินดินหนีสามัคคีผมแห้งหากันเป็นเอาไว้ตกไปใส่อย่าลืมบ้านเมืองเล่าเฮาแต่เข้าก่อนเล่าเฮาจอนจากแล้วแก้วสิเขาแม่นอยู่แทนให้เฮาโฮมกันแน่นสามัคคีเป็นแน่นเทสาตุมีดอกเป็นหมื่นด้านบ่หานสู่แม่นหมู่เฮาผู้ที่เป็นคนเฒ่าเคยนำพา
ผิดผาดเว้าให้หลานเจ้าแม่นน้ำเพิงให้ค่อยตกเตือนเสื้อสาวขน้องแม่นไว้หนุ่มซุ่มกำลังในกาสิพาให้แม่นหุ่งเฮืองคันแม่นกำไฟเบื้องคนหนุ่มสาวขน้องขอให้ฟังแนวคิดผู้ที่เป็นดอกแม่นคนเฒ่าขอให้ฟังคำเว้าแนวนำแต่ก่อนบ่อนได้ผิดดอกแม่นผาดเว้าให้หลานเจ้าแม่นพอดยาวนั้นละนานวลนวลนาละนานวลนวลนานาเราคิงจันเลยโอ้ยนาเราคิงโอ้ยจันเลย
In the long run, they'll need the psychological support from the troop. So if the troop has a molam who will be able to describe the present situation, I think they'll be able to synthesize.
You're talking about the synthesizing the Lao experience in the past with the American situation in the present?
Yeah, sure. Surely, I believe that. I think it's going to give a listener a feeling of belonging.
Well, why did a Lao dance troupe relocate in the heartland of the United States? Part of the answer has to come from an apple. You see, in Laos, an apple is a very rare fruit, a very nice fruit. So when the Lao Self-Help Organization in Iowa wanted a name, they chose that for their acronym.
I am Warnawong Saphap Misai. I am a president of Apple. Apple means the Association for the Positive Promotion of Lao Ethnics in Des Moines, Iowa. The purpose that we bring the Lao Natasin group in Des Moines, Iowa is for saving our Lao culture and custom and for teaching the young Lao children in the future in this country. This group, after they escaped from our country to Thailand, to Nong Khai camp, and they reorganized in the camp, and then we discuss. We have meeting with our boss, Apple boss, and our Apple member, and then they send some money to them for buying those instrument music that they have right now. Before they even arrive over here, Apple look forward sponsor for them and involved with Iowa Refugee Service Center. The whole family, Natasin family, come Iowa already, and I think their resettlement is very good now.
Mohori is another kind of classical orchestra that you might hear in the Lao court. It's a little different from the orchestra we heard earlier in this program. It has wind instruments. million Southeast Asians from Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam have settled in the United States since 1975. The Lao number about 40,000 of those. Each ethnic community finds its own way of accommodating to life in the United States. Apple intends to establish a cultural unifying force for all Lao throughout the diaspora with performances of their Natasin dance troupe. In coming programs of Music in a New World, we will hear how other newly arrived ethnic musics have adapted to this country. If you want to comment on this program, drop a line to Music in a New World, National Public Radio, Washington, D.C. 20036. That's Music in a New World, National Public Radio, Washington, D.C. 20036. It's a pleasure for me to thank now the Lao Natasin dance troupe, especially their leader, Sanong Unvong. By the way, that Lao food in Iowa was really good. The Iowa Refugee Service Center also helped this project in many ways. Did the sound quality of the music recording seem good? Carl Fleischauer of the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress loaned me the excellent equipment for the field recordings. I did post-production mixing and mastering at Sonic Images Studio with Terry Knight Engineering. The entire program was advised upon, kibitzed at, and improved upon by NPR producer Deb Lamberton. Please join me for the next program on Music in a New World. I'm your host, Carl Signell.
You've been listening to Music in a New World, a series of programs exploring ethnic music in communities across America. This program was produced by Carl Signell, who is solely responsible for its content. The production of this program was made possible with funds provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting through National Public Radio's Satellite Program Development Fund.
The Music in a New World radio series is part of Sounds of the World, a production of the Music Educators National Conference. Sounds of the World is designed to help teachers bring the music of different cultures to the classroom. Sounds of the World is presented by the Music Educators National Conference to bring the music of different cultures to the classroom. This series is based on a public radio program entitled Music in a New World.
Welcome to Music in a New World, a series of half-hour programs which explore the music of ethnic communities across America. Your host for these programs is ethnomusicologist Carl Signell.
We had to hide in the jungle. In order to survive, we had to eat tree leaves. Besides that, the communist Patet Lao attacked us with mortars and bombs whenever they caught sight of us. My parents, my family were torn apart, killed by these attacks and by poisoning and chemical warfare. And I kept that experience always in my memory by creating this song.
Ya xiang no can go shai ji lan du ya xiang no yi jia bei zhang de guo zhang du ji jia you de ban.
The man singing this song is a refugee from the recent wars in Southeast Asia. He showed us scars on his legs and arms and a missing thumb, physical evidence of what happened there. He's one of several thousand of his people called Hmong, H-M-O-N-G, who now live in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm Carl Signell with a program on Hmong music and musicians in America. Chu Dua Seong, singing an oral history of his people's ordeals in Laos. This is a short excerpt from a song which lasted for a quarter of an hour. Who are the Hmong people and where do they come from? Dr. Amy Catlin is director of the Center for Hmong Lore in Providence.
The Hmong are a tribal group who lived in the mountaintops of northern Southeast Asia. They came down from China in one very large migration in 1800 and another in 1860 as the result of uprisings, revolts that they had conducted against their Chinese enemies. And because of the war in Laos and Southeast Asia, they became refugees from Laos starting in 1975 with the fall of Vientiane, and began coming to this country at that time.
The Hmong call this night music. The instrument is a small Jew's harp, and it's usually young lovers who carry on intimate conversations with it. The Hmong language is tonal, so the pitch and rhythmic patterns of a sentence become music.
All of the instrumental music of the Hmong is based on that sung poetry. And whenever a person plays an instrument, he is actually thinking a poem in his mind and then playing that simultaneously on the instrument. So it's a method of communication between people who are perhaps too shy to sing sometimes. You can use an instrument as a mask.
My girlfriend came to this country. She has relatives and friends around her. When she feels sad, she can talk it out with them. I am alone in this country and have no one to tell these things to. That makes it difficult to live.
Playing the Jew's harp, Chong Li Chu. A young girl in Hmong society can sing a special type of song for her lover who leaves the village to study far away.
What is happening this year, my love? One of the female birds is singing from the hill. One of the male birds should sing in reply from the valley. My love, this year you must go to school in another country and live by yourself there. My sweet, I am still here, and I will be fair to you and stay with my parents until you return.
A 15-year-old Hmong girl, Song Yang, who came to America in 1980. She was the only Hmong woman to sing for us. The men insist that women stop singing after marriage. Apparently, the women seldom sing in front of men after a certain age. But only men play the bamboo mouth organ called kang. Now, the instrument which plays the theme music for these programs is also a bamboo mouth organ from Southeast Asia, but the theme music is from the ethnic Lao people who live in the lowlands of Laos. The instrument played by the Hmong up in the mountains is an older version of it. The player of the highlands instrument looks like he's smoking a giant 2-foot wooden banana-like pipe with a large bowl at the end. A clump of gently curved bamboo tubes sticks out of that bowl. He sounds each pipe by touching small sound holes with his fingers. Cho Li Chu first plays a prelude in free rhythm, then 3 sections in fixed rhythm. But before playing this piece, he demonstrates how each of those 3 sections ends on a different harmony. The third ends on a single note, so that's easy to recognize. Here's the final harmonies of the first two in isolation. He's demonstrating the first section here. Notice the ending and compare it with the next two. In Providence, when a Hmong person dies, the family calls in the shaman, who speaks to the departed spirit with the playing of the bamboo mouth organ. The family puts out an offering of food for the deceased, and the mouth organ asks the spirit to partake of the essence of the food. a shaman, and a ritual funeral song on the bamboo mouth organ. Offering food to the soul of the dead shouldn't upset their American neighbors, but the Hmong immigrants, like the Irish and their wakes of 100 years ago, began to suppress their native customs, which they think might be too disturbing to Americans who don't understand.
They're very reluctant to continue the practices of shamanism here, partly because of the close quarters in the areas where they're living. Shamanism is kind of noisy and bloody and various other things, and they're afraid of what the neighbors are going to say.
A Hmong wedding in Southeast Asia lasts for 3 days. One set of singers represents the groom's side, another the bride's, and they compete to see which side can sing the best. The loser has to drink a cup of something alcoholic. Here the first singer mentions a divination custom, somewhat related, I suppose, to our breaking the wishbone. After a rooster is cooked, the tongue is pulled to foretell a happy and long life for the wedding couple. The answer consists of a clever way of saying the same thing with different words.
Xin tỏ mi công chi ta u du số ye rong li cư ya cung nè cung si mi ta no mo nhà lung có cái có cho chang mo rong nè trong còn cho lệ xin tỏ mi công chi ta u du số chang rong li cư dù là cung nè cung si mi ta u cho nhà lung này chi si để lo cho ta lô lẽ đủ chi ta chùa có cung nè cung si mi ta u lô này chi si lo này yo cho ta lô lẽ đủ chi ta rèn trong đi cự cung nè cung si mi ta u mo chi nhà luôn có cái có cho chang mo chi rong lo chung lo còn cho là chỉ tỏ mi công chỉ ta nó đủ số sang rong đi cử ya cung nè cung si mi ta u lo này chi si để lo cho mo chi nhà lẽ luôn có cái có cho cha có mo chi rong là lo chung lo còn cho xin tỏ mi công chỉ ta nó đủ số già rong đi cử ya lẽ bê pla ma si mi công bê na nhà có cái yo la nhà có cái sang ta li thô có su bê pla ma si mi công bê thu có cái tùm lại nhẹ yong khó xin công si lê số la tu nhu cu rong đê cư ya la bê pla ma si mi công bê na nhà có cái yo la nhà có cái sang ta đi thô có tự do rong đi cư bê pla ma si mi công bê thu có cái tùm lại nhẹ yo khó xin công si lê số la tu nhu cu tự do bê thu nhà có cái tùm lại nhẹ yo chi pu mo chu đủ có cái yo chi pu mo chu đủ có gạo nhà xin ra tên si vào mong kí cho bị rèn cột là họ là trong tô cổ bao rong đi cử bê thu nhà gạo cá tùm lệ nhẹ yo chỉ bu một chút đủ có cái chỉ bu một chút đủ có cả con gạo nhà xin ra tên si vào mong kí cho bị rèn cột là họ là trong tô cổ là nó lệ山山浪车曾有西山浪车一来别不马西米公诶。
And now, the representative of the groom's family responds with his song.
Ha rong đi cu rong đi quê xóa chi chế cỏ lạ bỏ trái lo cứ xì loay cú nhà cú chỉ tỏ nọ nữ chỉ phơ nữ trò nhỏ ca chung nữ tu trẻ tu su đỏ mùa chung cú nhà cú chỉ tỏ nọ. A
dialogue in song for a traditional Hmong wedding. As we've already heard, the Hmong turn to poetry to express their feelings about their immigrant experience in America. Dr. Amy Catlin.
In some of the poems, it just breaks your heart. Well, I have one poem that says something like, I walk out of my front door and one giant rock crashes into another huge rock. And I turn behind me and I see a rainbow that is only made of red. And you get the feeling of just a complete hostile environment.
Another sad story, this one on the free reed pipe called Cham Blai. The performer Yao Yang tells about the people who were lost or who died back in Laos and how he plays this music to remember them. Losing your family in a genocidal war is hard enough. Surviving in an alien culture compounds the stress. For some, the burden is too much, and their body one day quits. Refugee agencies call it the sudden death syndrome.
It's a strange thing where people fall asleep and just don't wake up for absolutely no apparent reason. And more of these cases have been reported, a couple more last month, and it has been attributed to an acute depression. There's no outlet in Hmong society for the kind of grief and anxiety these people have been experiencing in the last 10 to 20 years.
Oni yai nia lang sai oni cha lang nia lang si ai yu nia lang sai y ti lang o ya ni ya cha chế mong ya cha yu tua lỡ chăng chăng o nia lang sai oni ya cha lang nia lang si ai yo yu lỡ nia lang sai y ti tu oni chế mong ya cha yu tua lỡ chăng chú a oni cha chế yo oni lang sai chế yo mo ni câu thanh câu lỡ tề yang tha oni lang sai luôn yo chi hai wa chế nia lang sai yo nó to đĩa mo để chia ca lù lia tua chi bông ta họ ya ni ya nia lang sai họ ni cha chế mong ya cha mo ni câu thanh câu lỡ tề yang chế họ ya cha nia lang sai yo nó to đĩa mo để chia ca lù lia tua chi bông chế nia lang sai chế yo nia lang sai lang nia yo đa rồi tia yo mong để rồi ya ni yan che yo mo sha la jo to lang ku lang ti po ho ni cha lang ku lang ti tia tu tia la ke lo che yo che le thờ chu ai cha tu ca chung ke ko che che rong le thờ tu o nia lang sai o ya nia lang sai cha lang nia the lang ti ai yo da jo tia yo mo de ki mo ho ni cha yo mo sha la jo to lang ku the lang ti a cha lang cứ lang ti nè tia cha tu mi ca chung kế co nè rong lời thờ lăng nè cha
tu mi chế là kế lúa chế trong lời thờ chân ấy tu cá trong kế có chế chế trong lời thờ lăng ở nhà lăng xa ở nhà cha cha giờ cho rõ lo cho lời liền tua anh chế mong ya chế tu cho lu trong cá lia cho tỏ ta chỉ chẳng lời nhà tu khó bông ổn ya ni cha lăng nhà thế lăng chỉ giờ lo cho yên chung chi lo ya bu tu khó chung họ ni cha chế mong ya cha tu cho lu trong su pa cho tỏ ta ấy nhớ tuổi chỉ bu địa ở nhà làng xa cha lăng nhà thế lăng chỉ giờ lo cho yên chung chi mu ya tu khó nhà na nhà làng xa ở cha nhà làng xa cha làng nhà thế làng chỉ tuân thì lời nhà bùn cho cái anh chơi nó cái lo yo chơi cái y ở nhà thế xa rồi anh chơi yo mua nhà làng xa nhà có plot cho nụ li tua thổ xe chi ở nhà làng xa ở nhà tua lời liền thì lời bùn cái nó cái chơi tu cái xa ya ni chan che ya mo nya lang cha ni ko plo to nu li to tho xie xia ho ni ya nya lang cha on
This song continues for another 5 minutes, but our program runs out of time before that. The singer is Phai Da Vang. He's 33 years old. The words tell a young bride to work hard, be patient, and get along with her in-laws. I wonder how valid this advice will be in a few years when the younger generation will speak fluent English, drive cars, and adapt to the job market, and the older generation may still be suffering from culture shock. The Hmong fought on the American side in Southeast Asia, and they suffered for it. If the policies of extermination of the Hmong in Southeast Asia succeed, then their culture may only survive in the diaspora. This is what their music sounds like now, a short time after their arrival in this country, if we also include the rock bands of the younger generation. I don't know what will happen next. They've been through a double trauma, losing almost everything in their former life, and then being thrust into a strange new world of crashing rocks and red rainbows. Perhaps the Hmong people in America will find that the music they sing and play is a barometer of their mixed status here. A mélange, different for each person, of the tranquil pre-war past, the memories of the wartime tragedies, and the epic change in crossing the sea to a new homeland. If you'd like to comment on this program, please drop a line to Music in a New World, National Public Radio, Washington, D.C. 20036. That's Music in a New World, National Public Radio, Washington, D.C. 20036. This program was produced by Carl Signell and Deb Lamberton. The musicians were Chu Dua Xiao, Chaw Li Chu, So Ya, Yua Si Ya, Yao Ya, and Phai Da Vang. Special thanks to the Center for Hmong Lore in Providence, Rhode Island, whose director, Dr. Amy Catlin, was the consultant for the program. Gary Fink was the field recording engineer, the facilitator was Tang Yang, the interpreter was Dua Yang, and the translations were by Ku Kang and Amy Catlin. Post-production engineering was by Chuck Thompson and Flawn Williams. And I'm your host, Carl Signell. Thanks for listening. Won't you join me for the next edition of Music in a New World?
You've been listening to Music in a New World, a series of programs exploring ethnic music in communities across America. The production of this program was made possible through a grant from the Folk Arts Program of the National Endowment for the Arts and with funds provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
The Music in a New World radio series is part of Sounds of the World, a production of the Music Educators National Conference. Sounds of the World is designed to help teachers bring the music of different cultures to the classroom. Sounds of the World is presented by the Music Educators National Conference to bring the music of different cultures to the classroom. This series is based on a public radio program entitled Music in a New World.
Welcome to Music in a New World, a series of half-hour programs which explore the music of ethnic communities across America. Your host for these programs is ethnomusicologist Carl Signell.
About 300,000 Vietnamese live in the United States. Almost all of them came after the fall of Saigon in 1975. They've settled in every state of the Union, but the largest concentration is in Orange County in Southern California. Viet Hung is the stage name of a prominent performer. On Saturday mornings at his home, he coaches young Vietnamese of Orange County on the fine points of traditional South Vietnamese music drama called Kai Lung. You could translate that as opera. When I arrive at his home, Hung is rehearsing his students in the living room. Hung graciously offers me a beer as soon as we shake hands and say hello. I'm tempted after the long, hot drive from Los Angeles, but ask him for a rain check. The rehearsal continues. One aria in South Vietnamese traditional opera is very popular, especially so in the U.S., because it seems so poignant for the Vietnamese refugees here. It's called Vong Co, or Remembrance of the Past.
Sương khuya thức giấc buồn rơi lệ, nhỏ giọt thương sầu khóc thế nhân. Thôi nhé anh đi giả từ, người yêu bé bỏng xin bỏ lại sau lưng niềm đau dĩ vàng để chọn tương lai cho cuộc sống kiêu hùng. Đừng trách người đi sao vội nỡ lạnh lùng, thương làm sao những khi tình vừa chớm mong buồn nào bằng khi nói chuyện lìa tan. Hẹn với em ngày tàn lửa đao binh, bụi đường xa tôi bán góp đăng trình. Anh sẽ trở về nối tiếp mong ngày xanh, cho duyên tóc tơ được đẹp tình đôi lứa.
A short excerpt from Remembrance of the Past, a favorite aria from South Vietnamese opera, sung by Duc Hien. When it's time for me to leave the rehearsal, Hung quickly entices me to stay by more hospitality. I enjoy more of the rehearsal, sipping the beer, but finally I really must leave. This time, Hung tempts me with my favorite Vietnamese delicacy, cha jo, or spring rolls. The aroma draws me to the kitchen, where I sample a few. As I leave, Hung insists I take a whole plateful for later. The next day, my travels take me to Korea, where I attend an international conference on traditional music. In the lobby of our hotel in Seoul, I talk with my colleague, the eminent Vietnamese musicologist and performer, Tran Van Khe. I can't quite figure out what's the relationship of the accompanying instruments to the voice.
Yes. At the beginning, it's the musical instrument and the voice were in unison. But bit by bit, there is a sophistication of the accompaniment. And so instead of using only traditional music instrument as the dan 16-string zither, or dan kim with the moon-shaped flute, or the dan go, the 2-strings fiddle, we have used in 1930 Western musical instrument, but modified to Vietnamese taste. That is the space between the two frets, there is a space, and so we deepen the space.
Between each fret?
Yes, between each fret. And so we can press the strings and play the ornaments which are suitable for all types of traditional music.
Coming back to the question of what is it sounds very polyphonic to me. What?
Yes, it is. It is. And many people would say heterophonic or polyphonic stratification, because each musician can have a special way of accompanying the bongo, and sometimes each musician has many ways of playing according to the singer, according to his mind, according to his inspiration. And so I say that the bongo was composed by Ông Sao Lau, but now it is a collective creation because each musician can recreate the piece.
Vietnamese musicologist Tran Van Khe.
We must have hope in life, even if this is hopeless, but we can hope.
Khe's son, Trang Quang Hai, is also a performer and musicologist. I asked Hai about the aria Remembrance of the Past.
This piece is very important, especially for any Vietnamese who is abroad, because it can remind them, any Vietnamese of his country. For example, if you are away from your country, and this piece can remind you of anything, especially if you are from the south. It is as strong as the national anthem.
Back in Southern California, an elderly Vietnamese musician also performs for the Vietnamese community. His stage name is Lu Lien, and he plays several traditional instruments. The Vietnamese zither, called Dan Trang, resembles the Japanese koto, except it's smaller and has metal strings. Lien plays a prelude and a folk song on the zither.
Đây là nhạc mở đầu. Nhạc tiếp theo là bài Lưu Thủy. Đây là dạo thơ tao đàn, ngâm thơ.
Lu Lien playing Nhâm To. Vietnamese culture is close to Chinese in many ways, so it's not surprising that the Chinese lute pi pa has its counterpart in the Vietnamese ti ba. Lien plays a folk song from central Vietnam on the lute.
Lý Mười Thương. My name is Lu Lien. We have the Vietnamese artist refugee. And we are the most unfortunate people in the world.
Unfortunate? Why?
Because after 30 years of war, we had to leave our homeland. We arrived here with empty hands, except we have a Vietnamese instrument of music on our back.
Lien's image of the Vietnamese refugee arriving with only a musical instrument on his back is a telling one. For the musician himself and for his community, that tool of his trade can be very important in constructing a new life in a new world. For the more contemplative, there's the chamber music on the zither or lute, such as the refined music Lien just played for me. But there's an extrovert public side of Lien which I see when his trio, called AVT, performs. In a club, a theater, or a school where Vietnamese get together, the AVT trio has an act that confronts the immigrants' confusion and nostalgia with Vietnamese humor. All three wear traditional Vietnamese robes and they carry Vietnamese instruments, but the songs are an interesting mixture of East and West. One skit is a supermarket encounter in which they have trouble recognizing their own countrymen in the melange of races found in Southern California.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Are you Chinese?
No.
Are you Japanese?
No.
Oh, you are.
I'm Vietnamese.
And you?
And you?
Vietnamese too. Oh, thế là Việt Nam cả mà cứ 2, 3, 4 hoài.
That's not a guitar. It's the pear-shaped Vietnamese lute called thi ba, which Lien played earlier. They've added extra strings so that it can be played like a guitar.
Thế ông là Mít.
Vâng, tôi xin giới thiệu với ông. Tôi là Mít.
A lot of this is wordplay. The old name for Vietnam is An Nam. During colonial times, the French called the natives Anamit. The Vietnamese picked up on that last syllable, mit, and used it as an ironic term for themselves.
Nhưng mà còn một thứ mít nữa mà tôi không hiểu. Hai bạn có thuộc về cái loại mít ấy không? Mít gì? Đó là mít rừng, mít dại đó.
Ut means wet. In Vietnamese slang, the early immigrants called the latecomers, the boat people, ut. It's roughly equivalent to wetback.
Tôi là ướt. Tôi cũng là ướt. Mà chúng ta đều ướt. Vừa vừa chung dương. Hèn gì mà quen. Hèn gì mà quen. Hình như là đã gặp.
Bây giờ tôi trông anh quen quá, không biết tôi gặp anh ở đâu này. À, tôi gặp anh ở Camp Pendleton.
À, gặp ở trên cái trại Pennsylvania đó, Indian Town Gap đó.
Camp Pendleton and Indian Town Gap, Pennsylvania, are refugee relocation camps in the United States. The singers say maybe that's where we met.
Bước chân chúng ta còn khắp nẻo đường ở trên đất nước, các nơi nữa, cũng như là chúng ta còn đang đi ở trên những chiếc what people đi khắp nơi để tìm sống.
Bởi vì thế đúng, cho nên tôi nhớ ra rồi.
tôi cũng nhớ ra rồi, mình người đồng hương vừa vượt trùng dương thoát cơn là máu xương. Mình lìa quê hương vĩnh biệt là cố phường, vĩnh biệt người thương đôi mắt lệ còn vương. Mình nhìn nhau chung nỗi đau hoài hương, mai này tới trên ngàn lối ta đắp xây đời mới đi khắp nơi nơi. Tôi vào Mỹ, tôi vào Úc, xin chớ quên nguồn gốc mình người Việt Nam.
Nhưng mà ông có biết không, sang tới cái đất Mỹ này đó là cái việc tìm một cái job cần lắm,
phải
chứ không cứ ở nhà babysit cho vợ phiền lắm cơ đâu.
Thì vì thế cho nên tôi vừa mới volunteer đi theo một cái đoàn người.
Finding a decent job is a major worry for Vietnamese. One fellow says he got laid off, and his wife keeps after him to find employment again.
Quýt chốt tên.
Ông này là bị lay off. Mà tôi nói cho ông nghe.
Còn ông thì ông
Không, tôi thì ghê lắm, tôi phải đi săn job ngay, tại vợ tôi bắt tôi phải đi tìm việc ngay lập tức.
À thế à?
Cho nên là nghe tôi đi săn job.
The song says life in America is full of contradictions. The man has a job interview, so his wife consults a horoscope, burns incense, and makes offerings to the ancestors. Goodbye at the end of the song is what he says as he leaves home, but this could also refer to the tragic breakup of Vietnamese families under this kind of strain.
Nhưng hôm nào tôi đi lên đường, vai mang ba lô leo lên phi cơ đi Chicago, vợ con ra đường bao nhiêu tay giơ. Goodbye.
Đoàn này đông, dân Mỹ dân xì, hát phi kỳ ít, xem chỉ có vài anh biết, anh nhìn tao ai nên biết. Đồng bào mới qua cùng sở làm ông Reagan, cùng sở làm ông Reagan.
In Vietnamese slang, a Reagan check is a euphemism for welfare. It's shameful for an Asian to accept charity.
Nhiều anh thì làm nghề vặt cam,
nhiều anh thì vắt dưa, nhiều anh thì cưỡi ngựa chăn bò là chăn heo. Sang đây ông cũng như thằng lên voi xuống chó không chừng.
đời tôi bỗng dưng thành kỵ sĩ.
Kỵ sĩ là cái nghề gì?
Trời ơi, sang đây mà không hiểu.
The old class structure is upside down in this country. A fortune teller once told this man he would become a humble keeper of water buffalo, but in America he's an artiste, and here's the tune to prove it.
Ngon lành lắm.
The AVT trio, led by Lu Lien playing Vietnamese fiddle, with Vu Huyen playing Vietnamese lute, and Trong Duy. Their act has a modern sound to it, but it's not too far removed from Vietnamese traditional drama, in which songs and humor are used to comment on events of the day or problems on the audience's mind. The AVT members and Viet Hong's opera group live in Southern California, but many excellent Vietnamese performers live in other parts of the United States. In New Jersey, for example, Mrs. Huang Wang is a housewife, but on tour she's a singing star. In Lexington, Kentucky, Dao Ziyang is a medical doctor serving a residency, but he's one of the few performers in the U.S. who can play the dam bao, a single-string zither unique to Vietnam. These two first-rate musicians were brought together for the Smithsonian Folklife Festival. The song she sings is adapted from the South Vietnamese folk repertoire, and it takes playful images of things that go together in order to express love.
Nightingales eat lychee fruit. Yes, oh yes, lychee on yonder tree, oh my darling one. Little fish love water. Yes, they love water in this my pond. Oh, do you love me? 3 years. Yes, I can wait, let alone 1 year. Oh, my darling one.
Lý Chim Khuyên, bài dân ca miền Nam, Hoàng Oanh trình bày, Đào Duy Anh đệm, đàn, Độc Huyền. Nhãn mình ơi, lia thia quay nguyên chầu quay, vợ vợ chồng vợ chồng con bạn mình ơi, chim quyên quay hút mặt quay, bông bông quỳ bông quỳ con bạn mình ơi, 3 năm quay đợi được quay, huống huống gì huống gì con bạn 1 năm. Chim quyên quay xuống suối quay, thả thả môi thả môi con bạn mình ơi, thương em quay lao khổ quay, anh đừng ngồi đừng ngồi con bạn chẳng yên, anh đừng ngồi con bạn chẳng yên.
Singing a refined version of a Vietnamese folk song, Hoang Wang. She's accompanied by Dao Ziyang on the monochord. Incidentally, you play the monochord by plucking a harmonic from its single string, then adjusting the tension for the many other notes before the tone dies away.
Ngày xưa mà lâu Nguyễn gặp tiếng, bây giờ mà ta cũng đào nguyên hẹn hò. Ali hò lờ, Ali hò lờ. Sài Gòn ấy tiểu bồng lai.
Once again, the AVT trio, this time singing a raunchy song about looking for girls in Saigon back in the good old days. This is a good example of how the immigrant musician adapts traditional instruments and dramatic forms to deal with immigrant problems. Can't find a decent job? Write a song about it. Lu Lian's chamber music and Hung's opera singer, as well as Hoang Wang's songs, all help the immigrant community face their past and integrate it into the present. They came to this country with empty hands, as Lian says, but they brought that prized instrument on their back. If you'd like to comment on these programs, drop a line to Music in a New World, National Public Radio, Washington, D.C. 20036. That's Music in a New World, National Public Radio, Washington, D.C. 20036. It's a real pleasure for me to thank the musicians who made this program possible, not only for their fine performances, but also for their hospitality and cooperation. Viet Hong's opera group, especially Duc Kien, Lu Lien and AVT, Huang Wang and Dao Ziyang. I'm especially grateful to Nam Lok for making contacts for me in Southern California, and to my friend Nguyen Ngoc Bic for translations and background information. The Smithsonian Folklife program kindly provided the recording of Huang Wang and Dao Ziyang. I recorded most of the music on location for this series with professional equipment generously provided by the Center for American Folklife. Deb Lamberton contributes a lot to these programs as consulting producer. Post-production engineering for this program is by Andy Rosenberg, Leo Del Aguila, and Bob Nock. Please join me for the next program on Music in a New World. I'm your host and producer, Carl Signell.
You've been listening to Music in a New World, a series of programs exploring ethnic music in communities across America. The production of this program was made possible through a grant from the Folk Arts Program of the National Endowment for the Arts and with funds provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
The Music in a New World radio series is part of Sounds of the World, a production of the Music Educators National Conference. Sounds of the World is designed to help teachers bring the music of different cultures to the classroom.